Okay. This is the slicing blade.
The thin slice blade. It's a really good cancer fighter. And it's not only a good cancer fighter, it also helps keep weight on. Since many people who have cancer lose a lot of weight. But if you eat cabbage, it has glutathione, I think is what it's called. And it actually helps you keep weight on. So that's one cabbage. So it's a good thing to know that. It's good.
So do you still get cravings then?
Here.
Cravings? Yes.
So that's like lifetime, right?
That's from being conditioned for so many years. And
it's like,
having
you know, your brain's in a rut.
pizza. I love pizza. So Debbie makes a great pizza, but occasionally I want to go out and have the commercial one. She makes the whole wheat. You can find pizzas now that have a whole wheat crust. Great difference.
With salad on top, raw salad on top.
Yeah, I mean, a mountain of salad we found up in Del Rey, down the end of Atlantic, all the way on the ocean, is rustica. And other rusticas don't make it. This one, they brought out this mound about this high on top of the pie, and we were like, wow, just what we wanted. We were in our glory with it. So, and that to me was, you know, a treat. We're going to have a treat. But if it's white, enriched, anything, run from it.
Yes. Because
it's enriched, it's not good for the body.
And the problem with white flour is they usually bleach it with bromide. And bromide, what it does in your body is it actually takes the place of, it goes into the receptors for your iodine receptors in your body, and it stays there and blocks any iodine that you're going to get. It's going to just block it and it won't receive it until you get rid of the bromide that's in your receptors. So we don't try not to use the white flour very often, so that we keep getting iodine from other things.
How do you get rid of it?
How do you get what?
Well, if you just stop eating it, it goes away. It goes away once you stop eating it. Yeah. Start eating raw. Raw food cleanses your body.
Organic flour.
Whole grain.
I eat a bread that is called
Ezekiel.
Grain.
Perfect.
Very good.
Yes, that's one of the best bread you can get.
Karl, is that Bok Choy?
Yes.
I really want to ask you this question. I don't want to hang you or anything. But as far as your body is involved,
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You
What
should
was
have
the question?
You're not
Bowel
even
movement.
a friend.
You're not going to offend
You're
everybody.
We're here to learn.
Yeah, if we offend anybody, we're going to tell you up front, we apologize. And talking about the digestive tract, from the mouth through to the backside, you've got to cleanse, you've got to get that moving. There are people, if you read some stories, people that have bowel movement once a month. There's something wrong with that picture.
That's not good.
Either they're not eating at all, or they're plugged up. Alright, so it's like your toilet. If your toilet gets plugged up, what does it do? It overflows. It backs up to the house. Well, if it's backing up inside your body, you're carrying all the toxins and leaving them in. So it doesn't matter what detox you do at that point. If you're plugged up, the toxins will release and just go recycle right back in the body. So we have to first work on, that's why we tell people the first cleanse you do is a salt water cleanse. Couple that with the lemonade cleanse. Do that for 10 days.
So what do you do? Just drink salt water?
You drink it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, first thing in the morning, lay on your side for an hour, and you should have bowel movement. If you don't, you have to take, I had the other day, I started on it, and I had to take a second quart of the salt water, so a quart of water.
It's not too bad.
It's 2 teaspoons of salt to a quart.
Yeah. You have to be
The thing
precise,
that's more bothersome is
as
the
precise
amount
as
of
you
water.
can get. Like taking 2 teaspoons of salt
The salt is
This kind.
the
in some hot, not extremely hot, but hot water that you can drink in 1 quart. So you measured 1 quart, measured out 2 teaspoons, and that gives the specific gravity of the salt water, so it won't penetrate the wall into the bloodstream, and it won't penetrate into your kidneys. So it won't fill your bladder and all that.
It's like
up.
having an enema,
Yeah.
is what this does.
It is. Yes. So it's far better than an enema because it really gets into the small intestine.
Yeah.
That you need to clean the
Yeah,
small
it works a lot
intestine
faster.
and the large intestine.
Yes.
So that's a good
Yeah.
plan. Yes, dear.
You're talking sea salt then?
Yes, this is the sea salt here we use. It's a Lessie, and it's a kosher sea salt with no. They make another one just like this box, but it has additives in it, anti-caking agents, which they carry aluminum in it. You don't want that.
Can't have
We
anything
have
in
in
it.
Florida, and we haven't even had this caked up yet. So I don't know why they need the caking agent. Yeah, we tend to use the kosher.
That doesn't have the
Well,
You
it
have
has-
to look.
They have it with
You have
aluminum
to
too.
look.
It's still kosher, yes. Aluminum's kosher. That's a kosher product. Aluminum's kosher, believe me. It's not going to hurt anything there. What's unkosher would be if it had something, the pork or any kind of bottom fish or shells, shellfish, things like that. That's not kosher. Okay. I'm also going to put in the, this was what Debi used for the spaghetti. This was a zucchini. So I'm going to add this to my mix also because it's good for you. Why waste it?
But you cut the skin off?
The
Yeah,
outer
I cut the
skin.
skin off and then I julienned it from our spaghetti.
Right.
You can taste that?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And onions. You have more? Oh, or did you need it?
I use one.
Okay.
Yes.
Here's the onion we need because again, the basics for the kimchi were onion, they were ginger, cabbage, those are your basics, and garlic. And anything else goes, you can throw the kitchen sink in, whatever you got. Especially if you need to get rid of it. What else do we have? Cauliflower? Put some cauliflower in. You gonna use some of that?
A little bit, and it gets that vinegary after a while.
Corn. You can also add fruit to it, and we've been experimenting with some different fruits for different purposes. One of our friends wanted to have something that was good for arthritis. So in looking up what arthritis benefits from nuts, fruits, and seeds, we came up with a concoction that basically we added walnuts, and we added prunes, and
Plums and pineapple.
And that mixture
It's
has helped.
anti-inflammatory.
That's an anti-inflammatory. Those particulars are anti-inflammatory, so when you add them to the kimchi, it's going to transfer and be in the kimchi and be good.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you use versus the oyster slicer?
This depends on what you want in it. You know, I like different textures in my kimchi, so some things we slice and some things we shred. This time we shredded the carrot, the
Carrots, the ginger, the turnips, and radishes. Garlic? No, I didn't put garlic in there.
If all you have is just onion, ginger, cabbage, and garlic, you can make kimchi with that. You don't have to add everything. Can you substitute the honey for the agave sweetener or the maple? Yeah, right. Totally.
Anything sweet for the breakdown
or
of
even the
the
dates.
Yeah, dates
yes,
can be
dates would
used
even be
because if we added like the plums and prunes, it takes the sweetness and actually transfers it, but most of it gets eaten up by the bacteria. The good bacteria.
They like the sweet. That's why when you eat too much sweet, the bacteria likes you too. Especially your insides.
Yeah,
So.
especially if you have candida. Candida is pretty rampant in the United States. And it's probably the largest problem we have with obesity is having candida in our children. Soda pops, and they're just, you see a child today, and he is so strung out on sweets, and it's because he's got candida. They're feeding him a lot of enriched products. The enriched products are pure sugar. So enriched flour, enriched pasta,
Plus
pure
the yeast
sugar.
that goes in with it, because it's the yeast and the sugar together that cause the candida.
So, I know in looking up yeast, you will find candida. So aren't they pretty much the same?
Yeah. From what I've been studying, there are different types of yeast, but basically they still do the same ravaging to your body.
Candida is a fungus.
Yes.
You're talking about you have so much
And bread products.
and so many today have ADD, sensitive deficit disorder.
Yeah.
It seems like that must be a part of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the pop that they're drinking, oh my God.
And then the counter for Ritalin and that sort of
Yeah. They're starting to get, actually a lot of young people are starting to get old age diseases at teenage years.
And even adolescents now. Children can have cancers that would be normally at 70 years old, 80 years old. These children are getting cancers much earlier, leukemias, lymphomas, things like that. So we're only associating with people over 60 or 70 years old. Now it's come down and down and down. In fact, there's a great story about that. There was a scientist that wanted to find out about the enzymes we talked about earlier, and he had his whole devotion was for figuring out enzymes and how they work and so forth. And he took two groups of 100 cats, and one group of cats he fed all the canned food, all the dried food, and the other group raw meat, all raw vegetables, and put them through 3 generations. So the cats that had the cooked food had their litter, and that next generation had the same thing. Cooked foods and dried foods and the store-boughts and the canned foods and so forth. And they found that the third generation, they did the same thing. So through the course of the generations, the second generation was getting old age diseases at midlife. And the third generation was getting old age diseases at their youngest ages. That's the same as we're seeing with children today. The other cats that got all the raw meats and raw foods, they went through all 3 generations and died at old age without disease. Just from old age they died. And they found underneath the pens, the cats that had all the processed food was completely barren. But the other cats, completely flourishing.
Grass, all kinds of
growing.
weeds, growing underneath it.
Yeah.
That one, nothing.
It was all dead.
Nothing.
So that's what we see today. That's why we call this living well with living foods. Because we're going to live well if we have living foods in the body. Great stuff.
Do you peel the ginger before you put it in?
I treat ginger like an apple, like you said. And that's like the peel of the apple. And so I look for bad parts on it and cut those off and steal it.
And for those that weren't here earlier, one of the crucial areas that we do with all of our produce, they're all washed, even ginger. We're going to wash them in our, right over here, sal suds, Dr. Brunner's sal suds.
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's organic or not because you don't know what it's been through after it was put into the bag or put into a lot of hands have touched
How many
everything.
times have you gone and touched stuff to make sure?
And you don't know what people have on their hands when they touch things, So you always wash everything. Always.
Okay, salt and honey. Next step, corn. Corn is just another additive. It has some good characteristics such as it's a good brain food. It's also the different colors. If you had white corn, that's good for the respiratory. By the way, if you have respiratory issues, do not eat bananas, because that's bad for the respiratory.
It aggravates your respiratory.
Black pepper aggravates. Black pepper will aggravate the stomach and all the digestive tract.
Corn has lecithin in it. That's one of the things it has in it that's really good. But if you cook your lecithin or cook the corn, you ruin the lecithin.
So we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of salt, correct? Oh, 1 tablespoon of salt. She said yes to me. Did you catch that?
Debbie's kimchi. Debbie's kimchi. That's what it says, right?
This is Debbie's kimchi.
And honey, we have 1.5 to 2 tablespoons. What? We need 1 what? Spoon?
I need a little bit.
And we forgot to add probably the most important part of that. Let's see. Love.
Oh, you always put love in
You
there.
gotta add love. How much of the red pepper?
It really makes a difference when you're making food for your loved ones that you not be in a bad mood when you're making it, because the energy from you goes into that food, and if you're angry, that's not going to turn out good. But if you're in love doing what you're doing, then that food is going to taste better than it normally does.
I can attest to
It
that.
works. Let me tell you,
And my son uses that phrase too. He said, "Mom, you didn't put any love in it." And I know, because it's just sometimes, I know if I'm in a hurry, if I'm in a real hurry to get it together, it doesn't, and they know it doesn't come out right, you know.
Because you just said I love it.
Yeah, so now I slow down and I pray while I'm making that food. They love it.
Now what you do with this is put the love in it, knead it. You're mixing everything together. All the salt has to literally get into all pieces. And it'll start, as you're working with it, you'll feel it break down. And then you'll know your salt is working to break down and make them limp. It'll start getting juicy. So,
Okay, we're going to feed you some kimchi that we just made. And we had basically all the same ingredients in it, and this is what it looks like when it's done. Isn't that pretty? I love that color. That's my favorite color. Because of the red cabbage.
Mighty a strong man. My hands are hand-wide.
Can you do it?
Feel strong?
Strong.
Yeah, but everybody wanted to know how to make kimchi. Did you get everything there, dear?
I did.
On that?
Yeah.
You wanted particular.
You have to do something sweeter than every time, so that's why you put the honey in.
Yes, the sweetness is to feed the bacteria.
So honey is sufficient. You don't have to do anything else.
No, you can add honey, agave,
Dates,
dates, molasses if you want a little different taste to it, minerals to it. You can add molasses to it. At the last resort would be a sucranote, which is a sugar, but it's unrefined, or less refined, I should say. Stick with it, it's basic. Molasses, blackstrap molasses, is refined down a little bit. Yeah, it's not raw. There's some things that we can't get in the raw. That's why we use the honey for protein. Yes, dear.
How about maple syrup?
Yes. Maple syrup. Yeah, and this might be adding flavors that you want or don't want. You have to experiment. Remember we talked about experimental. Make sure you try things out. I mean, we tried when we put cinnamon in the other day. Absolutely incredible.
Oh my gosh.
What a difference. That was delicious.
Really?
Yes, dear.
Yeah, that was in our arthritis formula that we make.
Suppose I
And
put a cup of that.
we added the cinnamon. Oh wow, it was so good. I was ready to
juicer
eat
by
it
the
right then and there.
Because I'm out the door quick and I just had that made up in the fridge. You could do that.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah, you want to make it into a smoothie, essentially.
Just with that.
I've done that. My wife thought I was crazy, but
What?
I made a smoothie out of the ingredients. As you can see, this has gotten
That
limp.
texture
it's
I
gotten,
can't handle with
wet.
that,
You see the wetness to it. So it's gotten some moisture in it, so the mixing is good.
You eat like this, I imagine you really never feel full, right?
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yes.
we can only eat 2 meals a day, and they're usually small, the size of your hands clasped together, or even just one fist.
We have gotten so much nutrition now from this that we don't have to eat as much. That's the amazing thing. You know, when you first start out, you think, man, I'm not going to get enough. And you're training your brain, though, to be satisfied with less and less because you are getting the nutrition and you don't miss it. It's very amazing.
Now we just take the mix and we put it into a jar.
This is kimchi. That's what he's making. And the only way this because you have to let this sit for 3 days.
You want to press this down. You want to get this compacted in.
Can you make it without the pepper?
Without the pepper? Oh yeah. I prefer not to because the pepper you really need to increase in your diet. The pepper is great for several things. Bacterial, antibacterial, antifungal. It's going to help your circulatory system. So you really need to essentially start getting pepper in lightweight at first and then start adding progressively.
You know, since I started meat, meals are more beef.
Oh, you won't. Sorry. You got to.
Absolutely, you're improving your circulation. Getting the blood flow down to the capillaries. In mine, when I had my heart attack was a result of having the capillaries and veins plugged up. So when they checked my arteries, there's no problem with the arteries. But the capillaries and veins were so plugged up with goop, literally goop fat, animal fat. And it was non-digestible, so it was very hard for it to get through. Today's cows, cattle and so forth, are being pumped with hormones and everything else, so we wind up
I mean, it is. Anything, any raw food is good.
in our bodies.
Anything. But we make a special arthritis formula that's a lot more powerful. And it has, like I said, cream, plums, pineapple, cinnamon, sage, and rosemary. All those are anti-inflammatory and
When I started on raw food 2 years ago, I didn't know what. I just knew couldn't know you that it was raw. That's all I knew. And my arthritis went away, and I didn't even know what to do.
very good. Here's a testimony right here. Her arthritis went away from going on raw food. That's why I said
And I
if you
didn't
go
even
on
do
it.
it right. I just did it.
Yeah, there you go. See?
And it was right.
And it was right.
And Debbie's too. Debbie's bones.
Yes.
We're only 2.5 years on this. 2 years, 2.5 years doing this. And
And I used to have
everything changed.
terrible pain in my joints, but once we went raw, no more pain. I can do anything. That's really cool. Yes.
Okay, he was mentioning about the heart arteries. Is there something that will widen the arteries?
Dilate? Yes. Dilation would be
dilate?
ginger. Ginger is one of the great benefactors of enlarging the veins and arteries and capillaries. It does not, though, remove the plaque that's in them. That's where your psyllium husk is going to be working on everything, not only the intestines, but it goes to work throughout the body to help scrub them out. There's other things, too, to remove plaque. One of the best things, if somebody is facing a heart issue and they want, the doctor says, hey, come on in, time to go into the scalpel. I tell them, wait, give yourself a month and just go on oatmeal only for 7 days and an hour of exercise. And then second week, that would be 1 week, nothing but oatmeal. It can be cooked, or it can be raw, rolled oats. It can be groats, it can be steel cuts, whatever you want. And
Nothing with it.
nothing with it for the first week. The second week, you can have then a slice of bread and add some fruit. And for the third week, you can then add some vegetables. And they again can be cooked or raw. We prefer raw now, but when I went through my ordeal, the family that took me in to get me well with the natural ways were eating a lot of cooked food. So I had a lot of cooked vegetarian meals. And I got well because the first day was going 90 feet with chest pains. By the end of the first week, I was up to 1.5 miles of walking in the high country of Colorado.
Without
Thin air,
yeah.
8,400 or 8,600 feet high, and within 30 days, I was up to 6.5 miles, no chest pains anymore. My diabetes tanked, it went down to a normalizing level. All that just due to putting in the first thing was the rolled oats and oatmeal.
Boy, we need to talk. I mean, they want to put a stent.
Yep.
They want, I have type 1 diabetes. I want an insulin pump, though.
Now, that may even clear up. I won't say it will, but what our Heavenly Father has given us is such wonders to perform through miracles that He gives us, and the food that He has put into the Scriptures is amazing. If you went on the psyllium husk for the 3-month program, you'll probably see some dramatic changes either in the removal of insulin or minimize the amount of insulin you're taking now. That's by shots or by drug, right?
It's a pump. Well, shots. Okay, it's a 24 hours.
Oh, okay, so it's a pump. Well, that's kind of good in one way because it's being monitored.
Right.
That's pretty good. And you'll see that the monitoring will actually cut way down on the insulin. But yeah, it's been amazing to see dramatic changes. My diabetes went away real quick, type 2 diabetes. But I was making, my body made plenty of insulin, and it just couldn't get out of the fat that surrounded the pancreas. The fat in the body was so high, animal fat was so high, that it just couldn't work. So that was pretty much gone. And that took all of 30 days. And I continued on that same lifestyle without the meats and stayed on the vegetarian diet, occasionally cheating with cheeses. I'm a tough one on cheese. Hi, I'm German. What do you want? Next one will say, oh, I'm Italian. Okay. So I love cheese. And it's hard for me to break away from it after having it for so many years, but it's worth it to at least spend 3 months without having the dairy, without having, and if you do get dairy, go to goat. Go to goat cheeses.
And raw.
And you can find some tasty ones. I mean, I've had some really bad experiences with goat cheese or goat milk, but real goaty tasting, but some of it's very good. So you can find some good, and you can get it raw. You can't get milk products raw, but you from cow, but you can get the goat milk products raw. So figure that one out.
It has actually been shown that you can get rid of type 1 and type 2 diabetes in 30 days if you go completely raw.
So go in with the psyllium, go with the salt water, the lemonade, and then go with the psyllium husk. Yeah. Well, then you need to go with the rest, the cleansing out first. Get the cleansing off. There it is. Done. Packed. It's got moisture in it. You can see the moisture has really gotten accumulated throughout. It's a little different than the one that we had pre-made for you, because the one we have pre-made doesn't have corns. And it may have a couple other things, like we have the zucchini cores, where we didn't have those together. But I think we have the rest of the ingredients in them. And then you can add things like spices. Debbie was talking about the sage and rosemary going in, so you can add that. We've added the cinnamon. Cinnamon's a good dilator too for blood. So if somebody needs the dilation, cinnamon's excellent for that. So ginger and cinnamon are a great, that's a Jamaican.
Yes, ma'am.
I tell you.
Back in Texas.
Where do you get the husks?
Cinnamon husk.
We're going to be ordering that very
We're going
shortly.
to go through that cleanse.
there's a lot of people that have been wanting to get into cleanses and so forth, and we want to be able to get the products, or we're researching that right now. We found for between $9 and $12 a pound. And you need 4.5 pounds to do 3 months of the product. You don't want to get powdered, you don't want to get there's the seeds, you don't want seeds, you want the husk whole. Yeah. Okay, that's it for this one.
I have a question. When you put it like on top of the refrigerator.
Oh yes, keeping it warm was the other part. On top of the refrigerator or
It
someplace
won't get
warm.
moldy.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
It'll just.
Sometimes
ferment.
they say that it does on top. Ours never has. Ours has never gotten moldy.
If it does, you scrape it off.
You just scrape it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not going to happen inside the container. It's what bubbles out and goes on the plate. You put
That's
it on
what
a
gets
plate,
moldy, yeah.
and then it'll get moldy because it's outside to the air. You put a plate under the bottom like this is now,
Because
that's going to ferment and start expanding and bubbling up. You can actually see it bubble up, and that'll fill the jar and even overflow at times. And enormous pressure. It'll build enormous pressure in there.
Okay, and the second thing is that jar was big enough for you to put your fist in.
Yes.
Where did you get a jar?
These, you just go around to your local restaurants, you can call them up and ask them if they have pickle jars, if they save them for you, gallon and half gallon or whatever sizes you want, and you want glass. You don't want the plastic ones. So just ask around. They'll be glad to give them to you because they're just throwing them out. So ask around for that.
We hate waste.
Right.
Yes, we are
Yeah.
into recycling.
And you can use the quart jars too. They make wide mouth canning quart jars. And if you don't, you can actually just use some tamping tool to press it down. To get that pressed in. So that can work. Whatever you do, you don't have to press it with such force and magnitude, but you want to get it pressed down so it kind of squish it together and starts getting the juices moving to get the moisture out of it. And then in 3, 4, 5 days, the maximum should be about 5 days, and then it has to hit the refrigerator. Unless it's pretty cold out. We had some cold weeks. It was colder in the house than in the refrigerator. You need a little bit of warmth for that thing, but no, it wasn't. No,
It never gets that cold.
I rarely. Because I have they're bad on my digestion.
When it's ready, it usually will all completely change color.
Yes.
Especially if you've got the red cabbage in it, the whole thing will turn red.
That's how you know.
That's when
a
I
good
know it's pretty
indicator.
close. Try 3 days usually is all you need for it to start
Pinking up.
pinking up and being
So
red.
Debi made the one that's all pinked up in the
Yeah, you
jar.
saw that.
So that's a different part, so it looks good that way. That's what you get when you use the red cabbage. It's not for flavor or anything else, it's just for color. Just like carrots, there's really no huge benefit to carrots, but it's nice to color and the benefit of having some of the vitamins that it does produce. But the vitamins will actually increase by between 10 and 100-fold when you ferment. Vitamins, minerals, everything just gets huge amounts more in it.
Now, how long can that last after the 3 days that it's ready?
8
8
months in the fridge. It lasts a long time.
Or in the ground, we were talking earlier.
Remember, it's a probiotic. It
Yeah.
kills bad bacteria. So it's not going to get anything.
So if you keep it cooler and not hot, such as if you had to, you could literally put a barrel out
It
in the
helps your
ground,
digestion.
sink it in the ground,
It adds for your
and put
digestion and it
them in
adds
the barrel.
probiotics.
Do you
to kill
ever
germs
sell
or
that
anything without
already
anything.
made, that jar?
Yes.
Very good. It's like eating yogurt, only not having the milk product.
Our basic ingredient is $40 for a gallon jar, 4 quarts.
So that would be $40 now.
Yes.
Yes. Not quite full.
No, it'll get full, it'll expand.
Yeah, that'll expand until
Okay.
it's all the way up to the top.
Oh yeah, that's the other question. So that you also know it's ready because
It's expanding, yes. Yeah, that's how you'll really know. Is that it starts, you'll hear the hissing around the edge of the seal, and it'll start bubbling up. And that one wouldn't go over the top, but if you had it any higher than that, it would actually go over the top and leak out. Okay. So you'd need a plate underneath.
So how do you eat the oatmeal? Because it's kind of hard.
As far as raw goes, What we do with it is we make a muesli out of raw oats and raw other flattened grains or rolled grains, and we add our own dried fruits to it and nuts. And then what we put on top of it in the morning is we make our own juice or applesauce. Applesauce is really good with this. Homemade, of course. Raw, of course.
And let it soak for 15 to 30 minutes. Just let it soak in that juice and it gets it soft.
Put fresh fruit on top. Oh my gosh.
Dehydrated fruit's good in it too.
I take a oatmeal. They came from like a retreat place called Beulah Land years ago that my husband had went to. And they just, and I make it still for breakfast. Just take raw oats, walnuts, and some raisins, and fresh cut up apple, and water. And it's extremely good.
Yeah.
I mean, with a good water, you know.
Right.
It's extremely good.
Then if you had juice, it's
Yeah. I don't want the
but if you're,
extra
yeah,
carbs,
if you're
but the
trying,
water,
yeah, if you're trying to get rid of the
that's good, yeah.
sweet stuff, then yeah, use water. Water's fine. Good.
Debbie's going to work on some cancer-fighting smoothie and a cancer-preventative smoothie. I should say it has been shown
That's
to
right.
work on cancer in either prevention or in
Sure. Are you cold? It's the popular punch, right? They use it when they're cold.
Okay.
brown jacket over there. If anybody else needs, that's mine.
I'm warm. If anybody wants to borrow this.
What?
Pineapple down there.
This has been washed. As we say, we wash all of these. Need a scrub brush on them because they're so rough textured. So scrub brush and the salsa works great.
Now, are you using the outside of it then too?
No,
Okay.
we don't use the skin. We use the skin for juicing. We'll run it through a juicer, accumulate some and put it in the juicer.
People that need a lot of energy, like
This is good. You wouldn't believe how many athletes are actually starting to go raw, and they can run faster and have more endurance, especially if they use the chia seeds.
Chia seeds and coconut water. Coconut water is incredible.
but she is expensive.
The chia seeds?
No,
Coconut
Oh,
water.
yeah.
I don't know, I don't
You
pay
can
for
use
it.
water.
I climb the trees.
We climb trees and get it.
I could do that at my age.
But the chia seeds actually are what the Aztecs used to use. They used to take a tablespoon of chia seeds and water with them, and they would live and do like long runs,
Full day's march.
full day march on 1 tablespoon of this and water. That's it.
What is a tree?
A chia seed? No, it's a weed actually. Do you remember the chia pets? Remember chia pets? That's what they are. It's the little chia things that they put on the outside. What they do is they suck up water 10 times the amount, 10 times their size in water. That's how much water they suck up. And then they release it out of your body slowly. That's why you can go all day on it. So when you take chia seeds in your smoothie in the morning, you're going to endure a lot longer and won't need lunch like right at lunchtime. So it's really good for that. Everybody that has tried it that I know of has endured till like about 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they've taken this urban. From us. What? From us.
How much is that size?
That size is, I think, $7.50. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
What did you say?
The chia seeds, how much there?
Oh, okay.
I think there's $7.50.
Are they organic?
Yes, they're organic, kosher, raw, all that.